Hey guys, what is up? My name is Justin and welcome back to the BinkSports YouTube channel. What I have for you tonight is episode 4 of Friday Night Fantasy. Gonna hop right into it, talk about the disappointing game last night. Thursday Night Football was the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Home division game, and the Steelers blew it. Well, I shouldn't say the Steelers blew it. I should say Josh Scobie blew it. He, missed 2 easy kicks and then put Tomlin in a difficult decision where he couldn't trust him to go for a 50-yarder, so they had to risk going for it on 4th and short, and they didn't get it. Ravens went down the field, kicked the game-winning field goal. It's all in the past now, but yeah, if Scobie's on the roster next week, I'm going to be very disappointed. That's all I got to say about that. Le'Veon and Justin Forsett both played well. Antonio's streak was ruined, but that's because of Vic, so can't even be that disappointed about that. I could have seen that coming. He can start another 30-game streak easily once Big Ben's back. That's only 2.5 seasons, so he'll do it again, I'm sure. But congrats on that streak, by the way, though, Antonio. That's pretty impressive. 35 straight games with 5 catches and 50 yards. We'll not be able to see someone do that unless he does it again in the near future. Enough about that. Starting off with the Sunday games. Make sure you wake up early on Sunday. Get your coffee, get your Red Bull, get whatever you need. 9:30 a.m. is going to be the first game on Sunday, which also means you got to wake up early and set your lineups because the Jets are playing the Dolphins in London. So the early game is going to be 9:30 on Sunday. I'm not really sure about these matchups. Both defenses are good. I know the Dolphins defense hasn't shown it yet, but they're definitely going to turn it around eventually and start playing better or as they are expected. Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh are just way too good to play this poor, so they're going to step it up eventually. So I really don't want to go with any of the players in this matchup. Unless you're forced to, like I am in my one league, I'm going to have to start Lamar Miller and Jarvis Landry just because I don't have any better options. But if you have better options, definitely try and go with someone else other than those two, just because the Jets' defense is pretty good this year. The first 1 o'clock game on Sunday is the Jags going into Indianapolis to play the Colts. Looking at TJ Yeldon for the Jags, he's up there in the top 10 in touches for running backs, so he's going to get his work in this week. And then for the Colts, I don't want anybody on that offense if Andrew Luck's not playing. In fact, in my one league, if Luck's not playing, I'm starting Blake Bortles because I don't know, that Colts defense just isn't that good this year, so I think Bortles can have a big game. And especially if Luck doesn't play, Colts are in trouble, especially with, T.Y. and Dante Moncrief are probably not going to be as valuable they won't be as valuable for the Colts if Luck isn't playing. Sorry about that. Next, we have the Giants playing against the Bills. Looking at OBJ and Carlos Williams, pretty simple. Bills secondary is all right, nothing too great, so OBJ should have a good game. And Carlos Williams has looked great, and with no LaShawn McCoy, he's going to be the workhorse. Giants' run defense hasn't looked that good, so Carlos Williams should be able to have a great game. Next, we got the Panthers going into Tampa Bay to play the Bucks. Not looking at anybody on the Bucks offense right now. Winston's looked all right, but until he gets his chemistry down with his receivers, I don't think anybody is fantasy viable at this time. For the Panthers, looking at that Cam and Greg Olsen connection, they've been on point so far. Aside from a 1-week outlier, they're going to play well. So look for Cam and Olsen to be looking out for each other this week. Next, we got the Eagles playing against the Redskins. For the Redskins, I'm not playing either of the running backs, but keep an eye out on the running back battle in Washington between Matt Jones and Alfred Morris. See if, what the separation in touches is, and if one person emerges out or separates themselves from the other. For the Redskins, also look at Jordan Reed. As long as there's no Deshaun, he's going to be the number one receiver. Well, receiver since he's a tight end. He's going to be the number one guy Kirk Cousins is looking to in the passing game. So look for Jordan Reed to have a big week against a pretty bad Eagles secondary. And Eagles offense, I still don't trust anybody, so nobody there. Next, we got Oakland going up against the Bears. Bears, Matt Forte, that's it. No Cutler, no Alshon. I don't want anybody else besides Forte. For Oakland, it's kind of the opposite. I want everyone. Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Latavius Murray, and Derek Carr have all looked great. So they're able to keep it up. They're all very good fantasy options. Next, we have the Texans playing the Falcons. If Arian Foster is able to come back, he should have a good game. the Falcons defense has played all right. They played pretty good so far, but they haven't really faced a star running back. I know they faced DeMarco Murray, but he just wasn't himself in week one, let's be honest. I know he's probably not going to be anything close to what he was last year, which is what I predicted in my running backs video. If you haven't watched that, check that out. But, yeah, Arian Foster should have a good game if he's 100% able to go. Also, DeAndre Hopkins, he's played well so far this year, so looking for him to keep up putting big numbers. For the Falcons, Devontae Freeman and Julio are going to continue to play well. As long as Tevin Coleman's out, Devontae Freeman's still going to get touches, and especially with Julio as a deep threat and just he's going to scare no matter what defense he's playing. That opens up the running lanes for the Falcons and Devontae Freeman. So looking at those guys there. Finally, the last 1 o'clock game is Kansas City against the Bengals. For the Bengals, Andy Dalton, A.J. Green. Chiefs, Jamal Charles, Jeremy Maclin. Pretty simple. Best offensive players on both teams, in my opinion. Andy Dalton's been a top 5 quarterback in fantasy this year. A.J. Green put up most points last week aside from Devontae Freeman. Charles is the #1 running back in fantasy, and Jeremy Maclin had his best game as a Chief last week. So all of them are coming off great notes. I'm looking for them to continue putting up points this week. Starting with the 4 o'clock games, we got the Browns playing against the Chargers in San Diego. Don't want anyone on the Browns, but absolutely look at Melvin Gordon for the Chargers. He's going to have a great game against the Browns defense that has been putrid against the run this year. So look for Melvin Gordon to have a big game there. Next, we got Green Bay and San Fran. Maybe Carlos Hyde, that's about it. I don't trust Kaepernick yet. Torrey Smith and Anquan Bolden, too inconsistent based on Kaepernick's level of play. But for the Packers, Eddie Lacy's banged up. Devontae Adams is banged up. Got to go with Randall Cobb. Best game last week. Going to continue and use that as momentum for this week, going into a tough game against the San Francisco defense, but he still should be able to play very well this week. Next, we got the Rams playing against Arizona. Don't want anyone on the Rams right now. Keep an eye out, similar to what I said with Washington, keep an eye on the running back battle between Gurley and Trey Mason. See if someone gets more touches than the other or someone emerges. That's about it there. But for the Cardinals, Carson Palmer, Larry Fitz, John Brown if John Brown's okay, and Andre Ellington if Andre Ellington's okay. Mainly just Carson Palmer for now. Not much else to say there. Now we got Minnesota against the Broncos for the final 4 o'clock game. AP, if you want to risk it, going into a tough Denver defense. If you want to risk AP, go for it, but I don't know if he's worth the salary cap or that amount of your salary for daily fantasy. For the Broncos, the usual suspects, Peyton, Demarius, and Emmanuel. That's about it. Next, the Sunday night game is the Cowboys playing against the Saints. I'm looking at Joseph Randle to have another great game, especially with Brandon Weeden in there for the Cowboys. As long as he's under center, Joseph Randle's going to get a lot of touches, and they're not going to want to throw the ball that much, so I'm looking at Randle to stay consistent. If you need someone, maybe Lance Dunbar. He might be a low-end flex because he'll probably be Chief, and he right now leads the Cowboys in receiving yards. So maybe take a look at Lance Dunbar too. For the Saints, I don't want anyone on that offense. Even if Drew Brees even if Drew Brees still plays, I still don't trust any of those receivers right now just because something's off in New Orleans. And until they show that they are a dominant offense again, I'm staying away from everyone on the Saints for now. Finally, the last game is the Lions playing in Seattle against the Seahawks. Self-explanatory why I will not be picking anyone on the Lions. And even on the Seahawks offense, Marshawn is banged up, so maybe Thomas rolls as a cheap flex, but that's about it. I don't really like anybody in this game. Maybe the Seahawks defense, honestly. Should be a good matchup. Stafford is turnover-friendly, and especially if he's banged up, then he's not going to be 100% playing his best game, so the Seahawks defense and the 12th man might take advantage of that. Other than that, the buys this week are the Titans and the Patriots, so do not pick anyone on either of those teams because it will not work out well for you. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Friday Night Fantasy. As always, if you did, leave the video a thumbs up, rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Rate, comment, subscribe, and if you want to start out daily fantasy, go ahead and go to DraftKings and use my link in the description below. It'll help you get started and set up your account. That's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.